Earl had to die. Goodbye, Earl. Back to the land, Earl. Earl. Where did it go? La, 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 Earl had to die. Earl, we need a break. Let's head up to the lake, Earl. All right, folks, how are you doing? I'm gonna tell you what I really, really hate right now. I really, really hate that I thought that my mic was muted and it wasn't. So that was special, wasn't it? I am very sorry for my scratchy, congested throat singing Earl's Gotta Die. So, all right, everybody. It is January the 5th, 2025. We made it here before noon. Welcome, Martin Smallwood, my friend. Hey, Granny to 13. April, Mima, welcome. DB, my friend. Queen Mommin, Lisa C, and Tennessee, you're the winner today. So, we're going to kind of jump right into this. Hey, Fine Summer's Truth. So good to see you. I am scratchy and I apologize. Okay. But that's just how it is, right? It's that time of year. Um, Continued prayers for those in Louisiana, New Orleans that are dealing with the ongoing fallout of the horrible attack. Uh, Also the family members and friends of those that were injured and killed. You just can't, it's bad when you lose someone you love in the best of circumstances, like an 80-year-old dad or grandpa or grandma that die. It's bad, right? You have to learn to live without them. But when it's a violation, when it's something that happens that just should not have under any circumstances have happened, then it is extra difficult. So I feel really bad for these people that have lost their loved ones and have lost their sense of safety. And then we've got the bizarre, crazy thing happening out in Colorado and Las Vegas. Um, I'm working on a video now, alive, to talk about the man they're telling us rented the Tesla Cybertruck. Wow, that's all I can say. Wow, we are not living in the world that you and I grew up in. You know what I'm talking about? We Things are desperately off the rails. When a 15-year-old boy who is supposedly safe and sound in his home with his mother can be completely and totally erased from the face of this earth. And the police, the sheriff's department, do not close down the crime scene and preserve evidence. We're in a bad place. We're in a bad place when a sheriff's department, when you have buddies in the sheriff's department and they help you cover up whatever went off the rails. I suppose I'm comfortable with the notion of kidnapping. Would that be fair? Welcome, Triggered. Hi, Robo Granny. April T, welcome. Yeah, so this idea that if we only say, was it kidnapping or is he a runaway? I don't think we have not an ounce of evidence, none whatsoever, that there was a runaway. There is no indication at all of a runaway. There's some hallmarks. There's some things that we know about runaways. And in fact, Martin Smallwood's here. In the case of the disappearance of Suzanne Morphew, some of those factors seemed to have been in place. For example, even bonehead Barry Morphew knew that he had to lay some type of clues that would make the local police say, oh, well, look, she took a bunch of cash with her. You don't get abducted, Barry, off of a bicycle on a little hour ride in your own neighborhood in a very tiny, small, isolated area. You don't get abducted off your bicycle, be it by, human hands or, I don't know, a mountain lion. But then you make sure that you carry $65,000 with you, Barry? Really? You see, Barry's one of those less than brilliant minds who started out with one narrative, and when, I don't know if he was in a hurry, I don't know if things popped up along the way that he realized that he had not accounted for, but he did a few really critical things that said, I'm guilty. One of them was he went digging through a trash can. He went into a store and he said, have you seen my wife? She's missing. And the lady says, oh, well, what does she look like? And on a piece of paper, he writes something down, something like blue biking helmet, blue biking t-shirt, and blue biking shorts. Not, 5 feet 2 inches tall, 105 pounds, sandy blonde hair, green eyes, beautiful 50-year-old woman. None of that normal kind of, like if somebody says to you, hey, your husband's missing, what does he look like? What should we be looking for? Well, 6'2", salt and pepper hair, a little bit of a cowboy mustache, brown eyes, wide shoulders. You would describe the person's appearance, correct? Which is something I did take issue with dramatically, with the fact that the Texas Roadhouse video shows Sebastian has clearly been through puberty. And yet, when we go to the missing flyer poster, Katie gave them photographs of her son when he looks like he was like 13, 12 maybe. Little small shoulders, head smaller than his teeth. So he's got like these really big teeth. When we see him at the Texas Roadhouse, he looks like a young man. He's got a big thick neck. His shoulders have widened and broadened. His teeth do not look unusually large. In short, Christopher Proudfoot, He doesn't look goofy as you continue to describe him. He's taking on the appearance of an adult man. And yet his own mother was not able to provide photographs that were new. She lied and said they were new. And then we saw in the video that she actually took photographs of him and did not give those new updated photos to the cops. And yes, I don't know if you guys have heard this or not. Christopher Proudfoot, in one of his famous little temper tantrums, he admitted on video, he admitted that Katie took the photographs to send to him, to Christopher. Prepare yourselves to verify that Sebastian had eaten all of his food. Now, I don't know about you, but that incensed me when I heard it. In fact, I may or may not have called him a word that may or may not have been fairly offensive to most of you. It is so creepy. It is so sad. And I am so over it, right? So that is one of the things that we know about people who run away is they take things they anticipate they shall need, right? Suzanne Morphew took $65,000. Or did she, Barry? I suspect you know exactly where that $65,000 is. And perhaps you anticipated that you wouldn't have to pay taxes on it because now you told them that your wife stole it from you. And you even added the little touch. Well, maybe your guy stole it. Maybe your cop stole it out of my safe. Shut up, Barry. Nobody believes you, buddy. All right, now back to the point. So Sebastian literally not only did he not take things that would be anticipated need, food, perhaps money, cell phone. The child didn't even take a pair of shoes or a coat. And it was winter. It was cold. It was February. So that doesn't, remember I started out with, are we looking at an abduction or foul play? Or is it more likely that is there evidence that it was a runaway? So he didn't take anything with him, nothing except this kind of foolish story, unbelievable, I guess, story that he had this little toy, like little flashlight, like you would get in a box of cereal or something. That's it. That's all your son would take with him as he runs away. He doesn't even take enough to get to whomever this was that you claim are luring him out. He doesn't even get that far. So that's number one. So he didn't take anything. And the people that seem to be up to Fixerer, they're not really accounting for that. They're not really, it's like that part of it, the detail, the devil's in the details, right? It's like that part of it kind of got away from them. So number one, Sebastian took nothing with him that would suggest that he was preparing to run away. He didn't take anything that he would need if he were not to be returning home. That would include food. That would include money. That would include cell phone. And that would include the basic need of a coat and shoes. All right. Second thing that absolutely just simply doesn't bode that perhaps there was a runaway is that for him to run away, he has to go somewhere, right? He has to leave the house, and then he has to walk somewhere or get on a bicycle and go somewhere, or have a car pick him up. Maybe, some weirdo off the internet entices him out. The huge problem with that is that the dogs never picked up a scent. And remember, please, that Christopher Proudfoot intentionally, along with SF Investigates, the private Fixerer Investigator, SF Investigates, SF Fixes, SF Fix Things Up. He's a fixer. He's up to fickery. Know what I mean? In his attempts at Proudfoot fickery, he said that the dogs definitely tracked. That the dogs definitely had a scent. And then he went on and he blamed the dogs. He said, well, the dog got, confused because the dog is a force protector. Well, shut up, SF fuckery, because there's really not any such thing as a force protector. That term may be used in talking about dog training, but that wouldn't be the classification of dog. And you don't know anything about these dogs. You're LARPing. You want to know who the greatest LARPer is in the true crime community? Yeah. SF Fickery. He's the guy. Christopher Proudfoot's walking around waving pom-poms, wearing a little cheerleader skirt. Steven, he's our man. If he can't fix it, no one can. He's your fixer, isn't he? $700 an hour. $15,000 you bought this man to what? Find your child? I don't think so. The evidence doesn't point in that direction. So, as Proudfoot Fixer Fickery Upper, he, number one, lied about Max, the dog, and 13 other dogs. He lied. The number of lies coming out of the ProudfeetF Fickery camp is shocking, actually. So there is no such thing as a perfect crime. No shoes was a mistake on their part, and they had to roll with it when Seth noticed. Oh, I am going to tell you, Mr. or Ms. Westmoreland, I completely agree with that. It was an oopsie, wasn't it? An absolute oops. There have been so many lies told by Proudfoot that to make that video where all you do is go through all of the lies, all of the intentional deception would take it would be like a 3-hour video with no extraneous conversation like I tend to get into. Hey, Yvette, good to see you, girl. So we have, I think, some people that the Proudfeet, what should we call them? We should call them the Proudfeet Fickery Club. Yeah? Alliance. The Alliance of Proudfeet Fickery. How's that? All right. The APF. Who's in the APF? Well, we know Cluminati, Cletus, and in truth, I kind of think that they probably already knew each other before Sebastian did not run away. I think they knew each other because they jumped up pretty fast to start trying to speak up for Christopher Proudfoot, to try to speak up for. And I heard Proudfoot say something the other day about, why are you always trying to pin this on Christopher? It was Katie that was home with Sebastian. Why are you already always trying to pin it on Christopher? Here you go. He hasn't been home since February 2nd. Ooh, the plot thickens, doesn't it? Tell us, Christopher Fickery, what kind of fickery were you up to when you weren't coming home from work for nearly 4 weeks when you were only 3 hours and 37 minutes away? Why wouldn't you come home, Christopher Proudfoot, you fickery little fellow? Why is that? It's kind of intriguing. It's almost like you had some guy with power tell you you weren't allowed to be in the same house with Sebastian. And that is very unfortunate for you, Christopher Proudfoot, who is up to fickery with SF Fix Things Up. It's a motive, Christopher. Nobody's gonna tell me I can't be in my house except a judge, right? So I wonder about your friendly, fickery friends that may be in the sheriff's department. Like that unfortunate phone call that you made before you talked to the sheriff's department. Oh, you didn't think anybody knew about that, did you, Mr. Fickery Proudfoot? Yeah, it would have seemed that Mr. Proudfoot made a phone call to an individual, spoke to that individual before he made the report to a back phone number that you and I would not know to report that Sebastian was missing. And then he called, not Katie, Christopher called Seth. This is very unfortunate for you, Christopher. Things are getting very, very scary in your life, isn't it? And not just you. It would appear that one of the APF, the Alliance for Proudfoot Fickery, seems like one of your members has sort of twisted off and gone off the reservation, or is that too? Tell me, Mr. Proudfoot, how many of the APF have actually defected? And would that explain why you twisted off now twice in a week and went up on a live panel? How does that happen for someone who's so smart like you are, sir? You see, I think there was a period of time when SF Fixes It, when he was hired by the Proudfoots. I think when the Proudfeet hired him, I think Christopher felt protected. I think initially he felt protected and smug as hell. I mean, he's literally on these podcasts smiling and yucking it up, laughing and chuckling about poor Sebastian. Is really quite a disgusting display, even for you, Proudfoot. But I think that in the beginning, you had a great deal of faith in your friends that were on the force. You thought that your no good fickery would protect and insulate you and your lovely bride. Isn't that right? But you kind of lost that leverage. The fickery friend on the force kind of got a little uncomfortable and bowed out, right? So what did you have to do? You had to go find a real life fixer, and that's where you came up with SF Fixes and Fixes Things Up. And you hired this man at a shocking amount of money. You didn't have the money to send Sebastian to a proper residential treatment facility for adults with autism. You did not have that kind of money, but you would spend exactly that kind of money for a fixer-upper. Isn't that right? And so your fixer, being the weaselly little elf that he is, and up to no good fickery, he has formed this alliance, with Cletus and Clue and others that I'm not going to talk about because they're in crisis. That's right. You see, he misspoke in his anxious distress. He said, I lost everything because of you. Who was the you he was talking about, Mr. Proudfoot? What in the world happened to this successful young man in such a short period of time? Are you the you that he was referring to? Curious, really, really curious. So there's some other people that are a part of the APF, the Alliance of Proudfoot Fickery. We actually, in the English language, when there's not a smart aleck in the room, we actually call that sycophants. You know what I'm talking about? So sycophants, it's one of those, $10 words. And we could actually more accurately call, for what's happening right now, we could actually call it obsequious sycophants. That's right. You guys over there at the APF, you guys are running around up to no good fickery, ficking things up, but in truth, you're just your common, everyday, obsequious sycophants. Cluminati, Cletus, Granny's watching? Maybe. Is Granny's watching? Is she an obsequious sycophant? Perhaps. But I would be careful if I were you, Granny, because you guys have already lost one of the alliance, haven't you? You guys drove him completely over the edge. So a sycophant is someone who will get all excited about someone who is rich or powerful or has fame, but in this case, Proudfeet's infamy. Yeah, Chris Proudfoot, you're not famous, buddy. You are living currently in infamy. People are disgusted when your name is brought up. Not because we're picking on you. I mean, why wouldn't we be picking on Seth? Why wouldn't we look at Seth and say, oh, look at all these bad things Seth has done? Because Seth hasn't done what you've done. Seth doesn't have all these CPS investigations where he was abusing his child. Seth had not been ordered by the court to stay away from Sebastian. That's why. And then you had the nerve to go on all these platforms and screech and scream and yell and demand like you were someone special, or like you're just crazy and you like to use hate and anger and fear to control people. I mean, I don't know which it is, but we definitely have seen the evidence of your uncontrolled anger. So in this case, the sycophants are people that I believe, in my opinion, I believe they look at you, or perhaps it's Sebastian, and they say, this is going to be a large, notable case. People are going to know the name Sebastian Rogers. Sebastian Rogers will be a household name, and therefore, if I make a video, put the name Sebastian Rogers in the title, then I'll be able to make money off of that, or I'll be able to grow my channel and get more subscribers. Those are sycophants. They're speaking out. They're speaking out for you. They're standing in alliance with you, not because you're a good guy, not because they believe in you, but because they are exploiting the fame of this disappearance. Kind of hurts your feelings a little bit. That's okay. It's going to get worse, I think, before it gets better. But anyway, obsequious sycophants. They have no use for you specifically. It is, I'm going to speak up for the Proud Feet simply because of the infamy of Christopher Proudfoot's behavior. Because of the screaming and yelling that he did on various YouTube channels, I'm going to speak out in support of this family. I'm going to show the world that I'm a more moral, ethical person than all these others who are looking at Christopher Proudfoot's past behavior online in recorded podcasts and are sitting back and going, oh my God, this looks terrible. You've got a missing kid who has never run away. And then you've got the stepfather ordered out of the house February the 2nd. He hadn't been home in weeks. He's exactly the kind of man that would stand there and say, nobody's going to tell me not to go to my house. And things look really bad. We feel very frightened for what Sebastian may have gone through. And that's the answer, Christopher. That's the answer why many people are pointing out your behavior and the lies and the misstatements, the intentional misleading of others, and the fact that you hired someone who is very experienced in fickery. You are actually parting with your valuable, precious dollars, 15,000 of them, to hire a man who obfuscates, who confuses the facts, who makes things such a confusing mess that even the cops don't know what to do with the information. I ask you something, Christopher Proudfeet. Why would a man do that? Why would a woman do that? Why would anybody want to work their butt off to make $15,000 just to turn it around and give it to some unscrupulous prevaricator potentially when you got a missing kid out there in the world? Why would you do such a thing? If you're innocent of kidnapping or worse. So that's one of the reasons why I'm really fascinated at your obsequious sycophants. Like, why are they sycophants? Exactly. What would make them go up on a panel together and speak on your behalf and worship a professional ficker? Why? Most of us really don't like people that engage in fickery. Most of us see people engaging in fickery and we go, fick no, I don't want to be a part of that. And yet you guys seem to be drawn to the drama and the trauma. One of you I find to be, well, it's very curious. It's very interesting. And that is Granny. I'm a little confused about Granny because I like Granny. I've watched her for a long time. I don't watch all of her videos. Sometimes it's a little bit too much. But for a while, you know, she wasn't doing drama, and it was fun. She had some interesting videos made. And I never, ever would have picked you, Granny, as the person that would go in search of a victim's family members and befriend them. I never would have picked you as being the one that would do that. But it does seem that you did do that, right? So that would be, let me see where we're at here. I got to put my video up. Give me a second. Not that one. That one. Share. So we do have evidence that I got to figure out why this won't go down. Come on. Strange. Oh, I got to turn it off in a different location. Hold on. Okay. So we do have evidence, in fact, that Granny's Watching has put herself out there to be a part of the Fixerer. You know what I mean? She's helping Christopher and SF fixes. She's helping them obfuscate. She's helping them make things confusing. She's helping them cover up reality. Okay. Perhaps, Sammy DeB. I'll be right with you. Just 1 minute. All right. So let's listen and see if, in fact, Granny's Watching may or may not be a part of the APF. Let's see what we think.
You know, the context of them, because there's been a lot of gossip around them.
In regards to the schools, correct?
Yes.
Yes. I'll answer that because, quite honestly, I'm sick and tired of listening to people come up with the craziness.
Me too.
All those.
Oh, that's so sweet, Granny. Like, I think I've got a cavity. That was so sweet. You literally just agreed with Christopher Proudfoot. He said, I'm tired of people coming up with the craziness. You didn't find it crazy when he said web sluts? I would think you would be the kind of woman that would matter to her. Oh, but you're a sycophant, aren't you? You don't really care about Christopher Proudfoot. You just care about the infamy. You just care about the well-known names that are attached that get you extra viewers and subscribers. Don't say I'm not right. You know I am.
Emails are to show are that the parents worked together. We'd had a decent relationship. It wasn't like it was a very one-sided, the whole relationship. No, between the three parents, it was co-parenting existed.
Co-parenting existed, okay? So if that is true, then why did you call Seth dumb? Why did you believe in the beginning of this three-ring circus? Why were you on camera, on being recorded by audio, saying that Seth was stupid and dumb and shut up, Seth, talking down to him in a way that I wouldn't be caught dead, not even talking to you that way. And right now, you're probably the person I like the least. And well, no, Barry Morphew, you're number 2. You know what I mean?
It did. You know, we came up with an idea. Seth came up with some ideas. At no point in time has one parent or parents decided on one idea and said, doesn't matter what anybody else thinks, that's what we're doing.
Here's the problem, Christopher. You're not Sebastian's father. You should not even be in this conversation, and you should damn sure not be going up on podcasts calling Sebastian your son. He's not your son. You're just married to his mother. He is not your son. What you would hope for is that he would be your friend, that you would love him and you would be committed to him, helping him, but you are not the father. And the family asked you to stop going up on podcasts saying, I'm the father of Sebastian. And you didn't give a damn that they were asking you to stop. And for that matter, SF Investigates, why don't you do a little investigating to find out what happened to Katie's tongue? Seems to me that Christopher's cat must have gotten away with her tongue, because that girl is not allowed to speak.
That hasn't happened. That's not how you co-parent. Co-parenting is talking, being able to have a conversation with the other parent and respecting what they say. You don't have to always like what each other says, but respecting each other and listening to each other to come up with a unified answer. That is very important when it comes to co-parenting.
May I ask?
Okay, I don't know if you guys knew this or not. Prepare yourself. I literally fell off my bed laughing. I've got a concussion from laughing so hard, okay? Here we go. Do you know that Mr. Proudfeet, he has been ordered years ago, a couple of years ago, not recently, not under Sumner County, not the coward of the county judge who tried to steal that baby, Faith, but back when everything took place with him and his mommy stealing Faith from her biological mother, Christopher Proudfoot has taken 20 plus hours of like relationship counseling classes, anger management. And get this, he was also ordered to take, I can't remember if it was 15, maybe 15 hours of parenting classes. Yes, that's right. Parenting classes. You know what that means? Let me tell you what that means. That means that if and when this thing ever goes to court, there are literally going to be mental health experts who worked with him, and they will be called to the stand. Isn't that crazy? Like, I can't, the more I learn about this guy, the more I wonder, what is he doing? Like, is he really that certain of his ability to manipulate people that he actually believed that he could go on this, global platform, being seen in India and Europe and Russia and Key West, hot coffee, Mississippi? Did he really believe he could go on this global platform and literally lie to the entire world? And for that matter, this friend that he has in the sheriff's department, what made that friend believe that they would cover this up? Like, what made them think that this was going to be achievable? That there's so much out there. This guy has been involved in so much. It's actually pretty shocking. What would make them think that they would? And perhaps it's just good old-fashioned arrogance. Perhaps there is, in fact, like a good old boys club, like the Ryan Upchurch song "Dirty South," right? Or that song "The Night the Lights Went Out in Georgia," or that song "I Shot the Sheriff." I mean, there's a lot of songs made about these corrupt, small town, powerful deputies and such. Is that what was at play? And I don't know that that's what it was. I'm just putting out all the possibilities that I could think of that would make someone who had such a colorful, thicked up past that this person would go on live podcasts that are shown all over the world and behave in a way that you and I have never even seen in our own real lives. I've never seen an old guy call someone that he's not related to, just someone's just an acquaintance, an interviewer, or something like that. I've never seen an old guy call him a web slut. I can't get past that because it was so shocking. It's like, what's wrong with you, Christopher? Like, what happened? What happened? You had a spark plug that had a problem in that moment. Like, you went right off that cliff. I don't know. Maybe there was lubricant involved. Maybe it was a bottle of tequila. Maybe it was some nice scotch. I don't know. But something happened that caused him to, like, his brain short circuited, and he was back being 14 years old. Ah, you're a web slut. I was on the web slut store. Golly, man, it's crazy when you go through and really start listening to all this. And in the midst of this, you look at this panel here, Elevated Truth. I made my apologies to him. I do think he's a good guy. I think he's trying to do the right thing. And I think he sees, I think the writing's on the wall, I think he knows what's real. And I think he's trying to move back away from this. And he didn't do this with a dark reason. He did it legitimately to try to find Sebastian, right? And maybe he did it because he's good friends with Illuminati. Maybe he's a loyal friend. He said, of course I'll help. But that's kind of fallen by the wayside, right? You still have Clue and Cletus, and they seem to be ride or die. I mean, they seem to be true blue. They ain't going nowhere. They are standing right beside the ProudfeetF. You might want to talk to an attorney, Clue. You guys may want to go talk to an attorney and ask, are we in some kind of danger here? I don't mean physical danger, but like legal culpability. Have we done anything that could have possibly stepped over the line? So you can kind of get that. You can kind of get the thing with Queen Bee. That's all right. Body moving. She's sort of an investigative type person, naturally likes the mystery. So she's there trying to get a handle. You can tell she doesn't know these people. She's just trying to get a handle on what's going on. But Granny's watching? I was really blown away when I found out the depth of her involvement. I really thought, this is not a stupid woman. This is a smart lady. Why is she doing this? It's crazy. And yet she is. So this particular podcast proves not just that Granny was just on panel, but she's actually helping Christopher Proudfoot mislead you. Right? She's aligned with him in a very public way, which could turn out to be quite uncomfortable because she's admitted that Christopher Proudfoot told her that his truck was caught up in the geofencing net. That's the kind of thing that gets you a subpoena, Granny's watching, not a fun one either. This is going to be a huge, if it ever comes to trial, it's going to be a huge trial. You saw what went on in Delphi, right, Granny? You saw all the podcasters. They rented out the B&Bs. There were attorney podcasters from LawTube. They were all sitting around the courthouse. And even though the cameras were kept out, that didn't stop them. They didn't care. You want to get up on the stand and testify in those circumstances? Listen, I'm telling you, when you're completely anonymous and nobody has any idea who you are, nobody has any idea who the victim is that you're testifying in or with, that's really uncomfortable all by itself. But you add in this level of infamy and you're on the wrong side, it's not going to be something you're going to enjoy, not by a long shot. And, oh yeah, nobody's going to pay for your hotel room. Well, I guess maybe you got a nice channel. Your subscribers will probably help. That's true. So a bit surprised about Granny.
That's what
What?
the emails were about. Co-parenting.
Thank you. May I also ask at what point after Sebastian's disappearance did that change so drastically then?
That's a good
Was it the
question.
GoFundMe? Was it just build up tensions? Do you even know where this went so far left?
Gosh, I don't know, Granny. What about when Seth realized that they kept CPS away from him, and it was his legal right to know about the CPS cases that his son was involved in? I wonder if that could have created a rift. How about the fact that his biological son goes missing, and he's trying to have a conversation with the biological mother of his biological son? And Christopher Proudfoot is such a weak, timid little, threatened little ficker that he can't allow these two parents to speak about their missing 15-year-old. He's the one beating this kid. He's the one that's got these CPS reports against him for exactly this kid. So why is he interfering with what would be a good co-parenting reaction to a kid going missing? You are lying to these 5 people here. You are blowing smoke up their behinds, telling them that it's all about co-parenting. We were good co-parents, 3 good co-parents, and I am going to call bullshit on that, like that card game. It wasn't good co-parenting, and the reason that I know it wasn't good co-parenting is because you were interfering with the conversation between the co-parents. You're the outsider, Christopher Proudfoot. You were the interloper. You are the problem, Christopher Proudfoot. You're so threatened. Your manhood was so threatened by the thought that Katie and Seth would be speaking together about their offspring, their child, their baby, that you could not allow her to do that. What else could you not allow her to do? Nobody's going to tell me I can't be in my house. What about your apartment, Christopher Proudfoot? Oh, what? Huh? You didn't know? What? Yeah. Apparently, Christopher Proudfoot has an apartment in Hendersonville. That's really strange, isn't it? But he does, and it's in good financial standing. Never missed a rent check. What happened, Christopher? You had to get you an apartment because the judge told you couldn't be in the house with Sebastian, and then you got sick and tired of that big, beautiful house sitting right up there on that hill. That's my pretty house, and I can't go home. I can't go home because Sebastian, he done lied on me. He done told stories on me, and the judge told me I had to stay away from my own home, and nobody's going to tell me to stay away from my home. And you sat in that little apartment, and you were just stewing, weren't you? You were just sitting there thinking about, this isn't fair. This isn't right. This is so wrong. All right. So we have determined, I think, that, Granny is very comfortable being being one of the sycophants. She is, in fact, working on behalf of Christopher Proudfoot. I'd try to get a little bit of that money if I were you, girl, because if he's going to pay SF $15,000, $700 an hour, don't you think he could probably afford to pay you $100 an hour? Maybe. You should ask. You should ask him, hey, if I'm going to do this, If I'm going to speak out for you, if I'm going to ruin my reputation and go up publicly and speak out on your behalf, I think I should get paid too. I totally think you should ask. Well, I mean, you could even demand it, right? All right. Now, yesterday, Granny's Watching did, in fact, put up new information about her friend, SF Investigates. Another sycophant for the Proud Feet. All right. So here we are. And you remember when I told you I got a concussion because I had to listen to SF Investigates? Remember all that? Okay. Well, you may get a concussion too. So perhaps right now, before we get started, you could take a towel and wrap it around your head. Or you could put some pillows on the floor where you might conceivably fall as you pass out from the absurdity that you're about to listen to. Just wait. You're still going to believe this. It's crazy. This is crazy. If you've already seen this, put a 1. If you have not seen this, put a 2. This is actually a video that I suppose SF Investigates made. Okay. And what you're doing right now, what you are looking at, you are looking out across the back toward where the retention pond and the new construction for the new neighborhood is. Now ask yourself if there's anything special about this location. In fact, ask me, say, hey, Jules, is there anything special about the location where this film is being made? Someone asked me. Ginger says, I'm not sure I have or not. I'm afraid to answer. It's okay, Ginger. It's the Twilight Zone. What do you think? You think, well, you know what? I want to be fair while you guys are putting your answers in. Here we go. Gray Hughes did consider early on being a sycophant for Christopher Proudfoot. He did, in fact, have one podcast where he went up on Web Sleuth, kind of white knighting for the Proud Feet. And then he never said another word. He said, oh, this is looking real bad. I don't think I want to be a part of that. So thank you, Gray Hughes, for that. I appreciate that. And Granny's watching. You might want to go talk to Gray Hughes and ask him, hey, dude, why'd you bail out? You were going to be a sycophant. You were going to white knight. What happened? Why'd you change your mind? That may help you, Granny. It may avoid a subpoena to have to come testify for you. What kind of mother could support a man who was physically abusing his stepson and even belittling it? Granny should be ashamed. Donna Marie. I want to say Donnie Marie, like, you know, I'm a little bit country. I'm a little bit rock and roll. I honestly believe, like, I thought about this with the whole belt and striking Sebastian with the belt and all that. And I was really giving that some thought because there was a lot of regression that Sebastian reportedly experienced the last couple of years with I guess Christopher acting crazy, angry. I think with the regression, if I had seen that with my child, and then he said, you wearing your belt? Give me your belt, and then hit my kid. I don't think it would have mattered to me whether it was whether it was the biological father. I wouldn't have cared. I would have just said, a grown man who can't figure out how to manage with love and dignity a kid that is special needs, that has to use a weapon against him to beat him into submission. I think there would have been a big old FU, and me and my kid would have walked out the door, never to return again on any, no circumstances. And for the record, I would do exactly the same thing if I were to ever see my husband striking any of my animals. Truly. I it's a barbaric, and it's the tool of a stupid person. It You are supposed to be the adult, and you should understand about conditioning, right? You reward the behaviors you want them to repeat. You ignore the behaviors that you do not want them to repeat. It's not any harder than that. I can control a 1,200-pound animal simply by letting them rest as long as they're looking at me. And when the horse looks away, I make him run the round pen a couple of times. And as soon as I see he's looking at me, I quit making him run and I let him rest. And the minute he looks away, he runs a little bit. And then I end up with an animal that when I drive up to my pasture, the minute the horses see my truck, they all come running, looking at me because they don't want to run. And they'll walk with me anywhere I go because I taught them that, I'm smarter than you. You don't have to beat a mammal into submission. All you're doing is breaking their spirit. And you know what, Christopher? Some spirits cannot be broken. You're just energizing them, and they will one day cut you down. So it's absolutely shameful that Sebastian was living in this home of fear, intimidation, coercive violence. It's really sad. And this is one of those cases that deserves to be on blast. And the reason that it deserves to be on blast is because we have far too many of these kids like Sebastian that are getting badly hurt, badly injured by their own parents, by the people they live in the home with. There's better ways of managing it. It's much, much better to use conditioning and reward and just completely forget about punishment. Punishment only works if you're standing there, Christopher. The minute you walk away, your punishment goes right out the window. They don't care. So if what you really want is meaningful behavior change, reward what you want them to repeat. Okay, I'm done. I don't want to talk to him. Yuck. Okay, so he's had this training, right? He had to go to anger management, marriage counseling, and that's the shocker. After what we heard Nina say, after what we heard Christopher Proudfoot himself say, he even had parenting classes. And he still gathered up all of Sebastian's things and made him throw it in the trash. And he's on the spectrum. He still took Sebastian's animals that comforted Sebastian, gave him a foundation, and made him give those animals away. This man had parenting classes, and he's still abusing him. You're in trouble. Christopher Proudfoot, that judge, it is going to be, you know what? I might be one of those podcasters, Granny. I may take 2 months off from my job, and I may go buy me a lawn chair and a big old water bottle, and I'm just going to go sit right there in front of that courthouse because I want to be there for it. Just like I want to be there for it when Barry Morphew goes down. All right, so prepare yourself. There is, in fact, something special about the location of this camera. As I said, this is looking out in the direction over to where the retention pond is that Max supposedly tracked all the way to the retention pond and jumped in. Remember that story? Oh, yeah. Max picked up a scent. He followed it from the Proudfoot home all the way to the retention pond in the construction area. No, he didn't. You lied, SF. You lied. It's not true. Didn't happen. Now, what is so very interesting about this is this video that was taken by SF Fixerer, and he's actually he's next door to Bobby's house. Yeah. You know Bobby. Not Christopher Proudfoot. We're going to go and talk to Bobby and Carter about this. I wonder what the FBI are going to ask Bobby and Carter. What did the FBI is going to think about those two fellows? I wonder if those two fellows are a part of the APF. I mean, I don't know. I'm just asking. But SF Investigates has said, and I quote, I have it saved, all of it saved on my hard drive, my external hard drive. He says, I have had Bobby's children under surveillance. Bobby's the lady, the little housewife lady that did an interview with JLR way back at the very beginning, who lives in the neighborhood, who says in that interview, I didn't even know that house had sold. I don't even know the Proudfeet. I don't even know who Sebastian is. She says that, Christopher and Granny and Cluminati. She owns it. She says it in the interview. I didn't know the old people who built the house. I didn't know that they had left. And yet you repeat that on your channel to your subscribers. You repeat that as if Bobby is up to no good. And it's so interesting, SF Investigates, that you put out this campaign of disinformation about the little neighborhood lady. You start putting out all of these suggestions that her twin teenage boys, that they were playing flashlight tag with Sebastian and that they killed him? Are you crazy? And then you say that Bobby's older son was there in the early morning hours, under cover of darkness, lying in wait like a spider. Lying there like a spider, ready to pounce on Sebastian. What is wrong with you? So not only do you take this one woman, this one lady in the neighborhood, just one neighbor who did an interview with JLR, and you guys start bastardizing anything that she happened to say in the video. It's unbelievable. Like, my jaw was on the ground the whole time I was listening to these two lives. I was wiped out. I couldn't believe it. I was like, these are the absolute most unprincipled people I believe I have ever run across. Charlie Manson is more principled than SF Investigates. Charlie Manson at least believed what he was saying. He may have been crazy, but he believed it. He believed that the government was bad. He believed that the politics were turning violent. But remember, SF Investigates, he took 15,000 ProudfeetF dollars, and the lesson or the mission, should you choose to accept it, APF, is to simply make a mess of everything. Make it so confusing and so complicated that it is virtually impossible to figure out what is fact. So this man who has put this little neighborhood lady, put her minor kids under surveillance, her oldest son under surveillance, who is now going on podcasts and saying that I don't know exactly what you're saying, SF. Like, are you saying that the two twins, they harmed Sebastian, and then the older boy was lying under cover of darkness for what? Did he record this? Did he collect Sebastian's body and dispose? Like, what exactly? What kind of nonsense are you spinning? But here's the thing. This location where this camera is right now, it's next to Bobby's house. That's right. This man is a snaky snake, in my opinion.
I wanted to upload Stephen Fisher, also known as
Granny.
who may not have.
Hi, everyone. I wanted to do this video in hopes.
And please put the link to Granny's Watching's channel, mods, because this is her video on her channel.
Of getting the discussion back on Sebastian Rogers and the search theory before him. There's been a lot of noise lately, and
has there been a lot of noise, Steve-O? Because any noise that has happened, I feel like it was your doing. Maybe I'm wrong. If I am, I'm willing to own it. But I get the feeling that the things that have been talked about, it's things that you or your sycophants have created. You are stirring up the drama. You are creating the drama. Like, I didn't do hardly any videos at all on Sebastian. Not hardly any at all until you showed up. And suddenly I'm just finding topics all over the place because of you, Steve-O.
This is just an attempt to keep everybody informed. Maybe make a plea to other search.
Never forget that fateful moment. Barry Morphew. Hey, come with me. Oh, let me tell you what happened. You remember that? Come with me. Let me tell you, Tyson Draper, what happened. How did he know what happened? He was in Denver, remember? So that flashed in my mind. Perhaps Gypsy, perhaps he is very astute. That flashed in my mind when he said, "Oh, well, we're just gonna, I'm just here to like set everything straight and get the conversation back on track." No, SF, your intent has been to derail this investigation.
Rescue operators in Sumner County EMA about some things that concern me that I think need to be checked out, and also to keep everybody informed. Because we're 2 months in.
He's gonna keep you. He's gonna keep you informed. You know what that means? Get your bullshit meter out because it's about to get deep. You might want to crawl up on top of your kitchen table. Just keep your feet clean. You know what I mean? He is about to get it piled high and deep.
One of 6 or 7 cameras that we have all the footage from, full days footage. This is a house on Kellen Lane, and this is looking out on the backyard view, out over the construction area. The retention ponds are down here. I want to show you some concerns that I have.
Okay, just hush. Oh, gosh, I just want to tell him, shh, but in a not so nice southerly way, if you know what I mean. All right, so this is, let me go back here. Hold on.
This is a house on Kellen Lane, and this is looking out on the backyard view, out over the construction area.
Now then, I wanted you to listen to that again because you remember when he first put the spotlight on Bobby, that Bobby is responsible for Sebastian going missing. What did he say? What were the kind of nefarious, curious behaviors that Bobby or her children were doing that have him so concerned? Who remembers? He said he was concerned that one of the kids got on the razor and drove back toward where the dogs were tracking. And he said that Bobby's kids ran after law enforcement and were working with law enforcement. Okay, well, gosh, I hate it when I'm right. Well, maybe I like it when I'm right, but in all honesty, what did I say? I said, I sincerely doubt that Bobby's kids are running around the neighborhood like pestering the police. They're 15, 16, 17 years old. They're not going to be doing that. They were interested in the excitement of what was happening in their neighborhood. That you had dozens and dozens of cops and firemen and locals that were looking for this missing boy, right? So there was tons of activity in the local neighborhood. And any of you that know teenagers, they're curious. Anything out of the ordinary, they're very, very curious about, correct? And I said at the time, I sincerely doubt that they were running around Max. They were running around the dogs, distracting them and talking to the police. I said they're probably found some hill that they went and sat on and were watching the movements from a little bit higher vantage point. You remember I said that. Gosh, I didn't know we were talking about Bobby's backyard. So Bobby's house is to the left of where this camera is set up. Now are you getting my point that this man is a bald-faced liar? He is heavily, heavily manipulating this story. And my big concern is he manipulating where the sheriff's department is concerned or one of Christopher's friends to try and disrupt there being charges brought? But we do know, at the very least, we do know for a fact that this has now been classified a criminal investigation. And we've had Christopher Proudfoot and SF Investigates deny that. And I promise you, the documentation for FOIA is getting kicked back, and it says this is a criminal investigation. It says like, we're not able to provide this information as it is subject to an ongoing criminal investigation. So we're not looking for a missing kid anymore. Isn't that right? SF, little ficker, right? This is in fact a criminal investigation. And wrap your mind around this. So criminal investigation, and this man is setting up cameras around Bobby's house, surveilling her children. Everywhere there is a missing kid, SF is there. It's starting to look real bad, SF. I don't know if you really want this, because the optics that you are creating, you may have to answer a lot of uncomfortable questions. And so far, your public presentations have been a mess.
The retention ponds are down here. I want to show you some concerns that I have. What I've done is I put 2 hours of footage for the sake of scrubbing through from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. the morning of the 26th. I'm zoomed in because of privacy reasons. This over here on the left, I'll just say this is Bobby's house over here, and I want to maintain as much privacy as possible. But at the same time, I'm interested in finding Sebastian, and I'm going to go to whatever lengths it takes. This there is, so there, I'm zoomed in, so you can't see the timestamp. You're just gonna have to trust me. There is a timestamp.
Oh,
Right now it's showing
trust him,
7:33. I gotta back
guys.
up, but they're all in.
Trust him. He's a trustworthy kind of fellow, yes? You're just going to have to trust him. Who's comfortable with that? Are we feeling comfortable? Yeah? So I will say that the clock on the hardware says February 26th at 7:33 a.m. That's a fairly interesting time, isn't it? Me neither, Yvette. Me neither. I hope that Bobby will see this. I hope that she will see this and she will understand what this man is saying about her kids, and that she and her husband will go get an attorney ASAP. He's scared. I've watched him show up at these missing kids searches or press conferences. He's shady. He makes me uncomfortable. I'm not being accusatory. I sure feel uncomfortable that he's a part of all this. Something's not right about that.
Sequential order. You're just gonna have to trust me that I'm telling you is the truth. So
right, Patricia?
To go back closer to 6 a.m. I might have to break this up into a couple of videos too because of Twitter. And I don't do videos. I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm just doing this raw. I haven't planned this out.
Okay, I want to point something out too. He just said that he doesn't know how to do this. He doesn't know how to operate his equipment. He doesn't know. Okay, for those of you that don't know, if we go all the way back to the Kylie Rodney case, yes, this little thicker was involved in the Kylie Rodney case and the obfuscations that happened there as well. You know what he did before he followed missing children around the country? Who knows what he did? Regina Romo, my friend. He was a photographer, a professional photographer. You just got lied to again, people. Like, I can't keep up with all the lies. He literally just told you he doesn't know how to do this, but he's got a TikTok account. He doesn't know how to do videos. He doesn't know how to do this, but he's a professional photographer. Yeah, we don't want to talk about what he photographed. You know what I mean?
Not even called in yet. As we get into like 6:15 or so, you'll see here the first vehicles of construction workers start to arrive. And this is about the time he's called in.
Okay, so there's a question. Excuse me. There's a question. Where did it go? Hold on. Question. Oh yeah, Emery. He goes all the way back to Kylie Rodney. Okay. So Bam Bam, love your name. So Bam Bam says, please explain, was he reported missing and how did he know Bobby? Sebastian has been missing since February the 26th of this year, so 10 months or so. SF investigates. He markets himself as a private investigator. He's from California or Florida. And he shows up to these missing kids or young people. And then the parents give him $15,000 and then he doesn't find the kids, but he keeps getting hired. He keeps going around. And when he goes there, he puts out a lot of disinformation, right? He befriends someone at the sheriff. He befriends the family. He befriends people. And then he goes about putting out a narrative that is really not apparent with the facts as they're coming forth. So a lot of people say that he's a fixer, that he takes a mess and cleans it up for whoever may be in trouble because of that mess. And the truth of the matter is that SF Investigators claims he does not know Bobby, he says, and he claims that he did not know Sebastian or Christopher Proudfoot or Seth Rogers or Katie. That's what he claims. And yet, about, was it like 4 days ago, 5 days ago, he just randomly started putting out these recordings saying that Bobby's children were involved with Sebastian. And he started putting out all these crazy crazy hypotheses for how Bobby's kids could have hurt Sebastian, or how Bobby's trying to protect her own kids. And it's a complete mismatch for what you actually see when you watch the video, the interview with Bobby. You can tell she doesn't know these people. She's describing what's going on in the neighborhood. The people that she knows is the person that's directly across the street from the Proudfoot home. She knows that lady, the lady who owned the flashlight footage. So, he's really, I cannot believe that the cops are allowing this. I really can't believe that the police are allowing him to do this. Doesn't SF have a church that the Proudfeet go to? Well, so I believe that Katie and Christopher Proudfoot, there was information that was put out. I don't know this to be fact. I have no way of knowing this, okay? This was simply reported that the Proudfeet actually go to church where, what's his name? Tyler Feller, the YouTube preacher that does true crime. That they go to his church, that Tyler Feller is their preacher, which is mind-blowing, right? It's like, what? So apparently Tyler Feller is the preacher of the Proudfoot Church. There's not anything wrong with that. I'm not saying that it's suspect or anything like that. It's a small world. It's a weird coincidence. The only one thing that I might say, the one thing that I might say is a little unusual about it is that I went over and looked, and I didn't see where Tyler, look, I've been on panel with Tyler before, and I think he's a great guy. Nothing uncomfortable about Tyler as far as I'm concerned. He's a great guy. But on the one, I'm kind of split on this, because on the one hand, I would think that he would say, because of his connections to the true crime community, I would think that he would say, one of our young congregates that, he's gone missing, and would you guys help me pray for the family? I would think, but I can say that, but it's also true that if Katie says, I really don't want you to tell people that you know us, and I don't want the people in the true crime community to know that you are our pastor, then he absolutely should support her and not make that announcement or ask for prayers or anything like that, right? So I'm not all freaked out about the whole preacher thing. That was not too strange, too weird. That was not, But as far as Tyler Feller being someone that SF listens to, that might be really surprising. Are you sure that SF goes to church there? I mean, he's not from Tennessee. He's from Florida, and then he has some connections in California. He does wear sandals with socks, which, I jokingly said that was a very California-esque thing to do. But look, I'm from the South, okay? I'm from the South. People make fun of us all the time. So you guys from California, it's all in good fun. I'm not being malicious, I promise. Tyler Feller, he did all of that to grow his follower. Kylie. I don't know, Emery. I mean, I'm not doubting you. I certainly respect. Look, the truth is the whole Barry Morphew case. I mean, the whole Barry Morphew thing is like it happened in my real life because I was really invested and we did deep dives. But the number of people that really followed that case, the disappearance of Suzanne, was was fairly small when you compare it to cases like Kylie Rodney and Sebastian Rogers. So I know that some of us get really, really hooked into some of these cases and we know every detail, but there may be other great cases, or not great cases, but interesting cases that are going on that we don't know anything about. I didn't do anything on Summer Wells. So I'm not second guessing you, Emery, at all. I would definitely defer to you, that you probably know much more than I do about that whole case and the things that happened. Because that was actually during a time when the case for Suzanne Morphew's disappearance was really in full swing, and there was a lot happening, at that time. So, but I would definitely, yeah, Emery, I would definitely defer to you on that. That was not something that I really. The only thing I did with the Kylie Rodney case was the car, the physics of the car going into the water. What was the evidence that the car went into the water, headlight first or tail light first? um I think I did 2 videos on that, so I didn't do much. Well, no, I had another video I did because, yeah, I don't know, maybe I did 3 on the whole thing. So Emery, yeah, I mean, I would definitely say you're the expert on it. Compared to what I know, I don't. Steve-O is pissed at the fact that Bobby will not speak with him, and the fashion photographer. I love you, Teresa. The fashion photographer that he is. He removed the photos of young girls. Oh, but Stevie, I have them, the young females with very little attire. Yeah, he liked to his niche was young female fashion. I'm trying not to get sued, everybody. Okay. All right, so let's continue. So we're in Bobby's backyard. Bobby, girl, man, my heart goes out to you because this guy is not right. So we're in the yard. The timestamp on the camera says 7:30. He tries to say that this camera too was not good on time. They have made a mess of the evidence, made a mess. So all we know is Max arrives. Okay. So K9 Jules, whatever time Max arrives, that's the time that we should start the count on this clock.
See more people arrive. What concerns me, and the reason for making this video, is what will start happening as we get into the 7 a.m. hour. These you'll start seeing coming from up here. These large construction vehicles. I don't know what the hell they're called. I'll call them dump trucks and loaders.
So he's claiming, I suppose, that this was either 5:30 a.m. or 6:30 a.m., right? Because you can hear him say, we're coming up on 7 o'clock. Is K9 Jules still here? If she's not here, I'll make a note. Yeah, she's still here. Thank you, Jules. Were the dogs, how does that timeline work? I don't think that timeline works, does it? So if it's coming up on the 7 a.m. hour and Max is already going to be getting out of the car, how did they get the dogs there so quickly? I'm in the Deep South too, show poodles. I live in that part of I lived in that part of the South where grandmas are called Meemaw or Granny. We still blanch our peas and bag them and freeze them in individual servings, right? How are we on the call? So the dispatch. Thank you, Hey Jude. That's what I wanted to know. Okay, so we got a dispatch call. This man, he is telling so many fibs. So the dispatch is 6:33. That's what I thought, and I was like, that can't be that. So Katie claims that she woke him up at 6:30, right? Katie claims that she woke him up at 6:30. We got a dispatch call at 6:33. The problem with that is that she's already gone in and looked for him. He's not there. She walks around the house. She goes outside and yells. Then she gets in her car, drives up to the school. To be fair, the school is just like right there. Okay, like a block or two away. She goes up to the school. She gets back, and then she makes the call at 6:33. No. Thought it was 6. She woke him up at 6 a.m. I did some research, and the sun, man, this is why I love you guys. I did some research, and the sun didn't come up until 6:21. And so you can see the sun is up. So sunrise, 6:21. I'm writing all this down. So there's a real problem right here, isn't there? Dispatch call was at 6:33. I make my own relish and strawberry freezer jam. Ooh, strawberry delight, Mystic Firefly. Thought she woke him up at 6. Okay. Called KP at 6:30. What do you mean called KP at 6:03? Oh, so my notes, I've got an extra 3 in there. So was dispatch, okay, so not 6. So she called Chris at 6:03? Is that what you mean? Okay, Stacy. Okay, so called Chris at 6:03. That's what I did. All of those times I've got 6:30, 6:33. Okay, so that's why. So it's not quite as bad, right? So she gets up at 6. But why'd she call him at 6:03? She doesn't. Didn't she claim that she called him when she was up at the school? So she called at 6:03. Then, so that means that then it would have been 30 minutes before the call to the sheriff is carved in stone. We know that was 6:33. So what'd she do for 30 minutes? I believe CP rang SR at 6:22, and 10 minutes later then rang SR. Who's SR? Stephen Crabfoot? No. SR. Is Mr. E in here? Mr. E knows. Oh. No, she didn't search the whole house in 3 minutes. No. Because she was also outside, remember? Remember Bobby said that that one of her friends saw them outside and went over and asked what was going on and started helping her look. So she called Chris 6:03. Says she couldn't find him. But where was it? So 6:21. I had 6:21 for Seth. And the sunrise was 6:21. to Seth. So what do you guys think? So if this is 6:22, so they know exactly when he called Seth, that was 6:20, and then 10 minutes later would have been 6:30, the sheriff's department. Do we really believe? So this is saying 7:33 is the time of this. And then he says, okay, so this is 7:33. He's claiming this is 7:33, or I'm sorry, the timestamp on the actual camera is 7:33. But then SF Investigates, he kind of gives you the story, and he said the time is off. And then he says this is all happening going on 7 a.m. And so you're going to see Max arrive. You're going to see the dog and the handler arrive. So the big question is, what time is the documented time that Max arrives? Because you can actually, that's another hard point on the timeline that, I mean, you're going to see him. He's actually there.
Trucks and loaders are working, and you'll see them, you know, see here, they're coming and they're taking loads of dirt to the retention pond area over here, and they're dumping it. And this is going on constantly. And we know with autistic children and teens, they have a tendency to hide. And we've also gotten new information not too long ago that we did not previously know about, that Sebastian had been hiding recently. And so this is concerning.
Okay, it concerns me too. I'm glad we finally agree on something, SF. It concerns me too, because it's not really typical for a 15-year-old with or without autism to suddenly begin to hide unless they're in fear for their life. And my question is, if Christopher Proudfoot was not supposed to be at that house starting February the 2nd, then what was Sebastian hiding from? What was he hiding from? If Christopher wasn't there, and Christopher has an apartment, so why would he need to be at the house? And in all fairness, he claims that he was not. He claims that he was not at the house. Christopher Proudfoot stated on camera that the last time that he was home was February the 2nd, but his workplace was only 3 hours and 37 minutes from door to door per Christopher Proudfoot. So is that logical? If we're only considering truth and logic, is it logical to believe that a person works 5 days a week and they choose to stay in a camper, not seeing their family week after week when they're only 3.5 hours away? Is that logical to believe? So let's say that he's complying. He's not going there. He does have an apartment, so he is supposedly going home on the weekends, just not to the house. Then the question that I have is, so why did Sebastian suddenly start hiding when he wasn't? Katie has already said he did not run. He was not. He did not elope. He didn't do those things. But now suddenly, as SF Investigator gets his campaign of disinformation up on full steam ahead. Now, oh, surprise, I've just learned things and uncovered information that not even Sebastian's mom knew about, which is going to be very hard to explain, SF Investigates, because Christopher Proudfoot was not home. So who was taking care of Sebastian? Why wouldn't Katie know that Sebastian was hiding? She herself, her own mouth, told the world on a podcast that her son did not run. He's not a runner. There is no elopement. He's never done that. She said that, SF. I don't know. I think you need to do your research, sir. I do. I think you've got a lot of problems developing here.
If he ventured back to this area and went to a corner of, a pond or a dirt pile to hide and saw people moving around, it very quickly something tragic could happen, like a load of dirt being dumped.
Excuse me?
I also want to show you,
you guys heard what he said. He is very concerned. You see all of these large equipment moving tons of dirt. He's very concerned something bad could have happened with those trucks and that dirt.
like I said, this is the retention pond area. We all know Max went over here. I'm going to show you Max. Let me set this up so I don't.
Yes, Passion Flower. That's what he said.
As little
Keep
as possible.
listening.
Okay, I'll stop it right there. This is the dirt road. So we're looking out. If we're looking out over this, we have our back to Kellen right now, right? So Kellen would be a road like this, running this way, and this is the dirt road into the new. It's now paved, but it was dirt at the time, into the new subdivision right here. Max comes up in an SUV that parks over here and gets out, and I'll show you start working. I'm going to start a new video on that, though.
Okay, you're going to show him working. Why aren't you showing us the timestamp on the video? Why? Why did you give us one little look at the beginning and tell us it was the wrong timestamp? So there's no need to look at this. How is it remotely possible, Mr. SF, that every camera in the neighborhood, the night that Sebastian poofed into thin air, that they were all off on time? How has that happened? Exactly. Man, you guys are,
Because of the size of it. Okay, so let me get to the area where the time frame when I have it marked here, where Max is going to appear, and I'll play it in real time while I talk. Let me start to play it.
It's going to be far over on your left of the left of your screen. You'll see the dog and the handler.
Okay, so what you're going to see Max and Max's handler appear over here. Max's handler is actually right there, getting on the SUV. Max, you're going to see him clear here in a minute. There's Max walking here. There's his handler. There he is right there. He comes down. He came in an SUV. He's not a tracking dog. He'll pick up scents of humans. He's like a police dog. He's a force protection dog.
There's that.
He's not been scented. They haven't given him a scent article.
There's that word again, Jules. He's not a force protection dog.
Don't imagine, because this is very early. So he's picking up any scent. But as you can see, he's not tracking a line definitively. What they're going to do is they're going to wander up here, this is like the dirt road area. That goes up and arcs over, and then comes where this temporary parking lot is, and then downhill, and eventually the pond that he goes in supposedly is down over here.
On the right.
I'm going the wrong way. Okay, so it's down over here. This is the cemetery over here with this tree line. So, this is basically, what happens with Max. Now, even Max is while he's doing his thing. I mean, these loaders and trucks, see one coming right here, I would have been, as a handler, I would have been terrified to have Max running around in that. I do not fault them at all.
What?
This is very early on.
What?
I think Ken Wagner and EMA did an amazing job with the search.
I don't know what I
continue
just
to do
did.
an amazing job. I'm not knocking them at all. Here's why I'm making
But
this
you may
video.
have been a little bit.
Besides
You just
getting
don't
things
have
back
the
on
courage
track.
to own it. Okay. Did he literally just say, like literally, he just said that he would have been terrified. He would have been terrified. Okay, all you country girls out there, all you folks that grew up in the South, you know what I'm talking about? You know, spending the entire day on horseback, going dozens of miles back into the trees, right? Yeah, you know, you stay with me. This guy's from California, he claims. Some people say Florida, I don't know. He just said he would have been terrified for Max, for a dog, to be running around back there where they were doing this dirt work, right? So I'm thinking, well, holy hell, they must have some kind of equipment out there that I had never seen being from the deep South, you know, kind of like dirt bombs. That's what I was thinking. These trucks must be throwing dirt bombs, because if you're in fear for your German Shepherd-esque dog, what do you think your dog's going to do? Mighty. You think your dog is just going to sit there or stand there while the dump truck slowly comes to a rest after it backs up, going beep, 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 beep. Old Max, he's just an old dumb dog, right, Jules? Old Max is just going to go, golly gee whiz, I wonder what that beeping noise is. And then he's going to sit down and he's going to watch the truck. And now the back end of the dump truck starts going up. And then the dirt starts coming out of the back end, slowly first as a trickle, picking up speed as the front end gets higher and higher, and it's slow. Okay, it doesn't just like go out like a cannon. They're not out there doing dirt work like with a dirt cannon, SF. Max is smarter than you are, SF. I promise you. Max is okay. Max can handle the trucks and the dirt. It's just, this is incredible. It has gotten incredible. Okay. So the dogs are out there doing their thing, okay? And SF is worried about the dogs, that they're going to, you know, come into some harm with the working dirt trucks. So I will continue. I'm having some trouble with my camera. Hold on.
Getting the discussion back on Sebastian. If there's any search and rescue operators out there, or if Sumner County EMA has ground penetrating radar and they're specialists in using it, I think this area needs to be swept with ground penetrating radar in case a tragedy happened and a dump truck accidentally put a load of fill on top of him.
Anybody in the channel whose blood just went cold? Mine did. When I heard this, my heart skipped a beat. And I said, did he really just say ground penetrating radar? And I don't particularly have a problem with ground penetrating radar. There's a time and place for a lot of the science, you know, tools. But then to follow it up with, we need a specialist in ground penetrating radar in case a load of dirt was dumped on top of Sebastian. He said those words. I'm just going to let that just sink in for a minute. what would, I can't even get there, right? In my brain, I can't get there. What in the world made you think that Sebastian would walk out of the house with no shoes on and no coat, and it's cold, and then he would make the walk? And Mr. E and his channel, they actually recorded how long it takes to get back there to the retention pond, how many cameras are active in the area. It was an ungodly number, but no cameras picked up anything. And Sebastian would have passed dozens of cameras, but he would walk all the way back there, eluding the camera lens, and then he would go sit down in the middle of this large open area. I'm okay, y'all. I'm having a coughing fit. What? 1 minute. Woo. So sorry, y'all. I got a little bit of like bronchitis. Hold on. All right, I think I'm okay, y'all. My husband and I both have got this chest congestion. Okay, so this idea that Sebastian would leave his house with no shoes or shirts, middle of the night, after midnight, would make this walk, eluding the camera lenses, make his way over to this vast area of processed dirt work, and then either sit down in the dirt or lay down in the dirt and then just not move as this beeping, backing up truck, right? Doesn't wake him up. And then slowly the hydraulics lift so that the dirt first starts coming out of the back end with a trickle, and then heavier and heavier the higher the bed goes, the bucket goes. And so even if he's still, let's say he's a hard sleeper and he's just laying there fast asleep, and the dirt starts falling on him, he's got plenty of time to wake up and say, "Oh my God." This is, to hear him describe this, the sheriff's department needs to hear this. The sheriff's department needs to see what he's now saying. Because I had this feeling listening to this. I kept saying to myself, what would make this man go on these podcasts and start saying that Bobby has things that she needs to answer for, that she did and said things that were very disturbing, and that her two boys were playing flashlight tag with Sebastian, and that her oldest son was lying, and I quote, this is what he said, lying under cover of darkness, laying in wait. He then went on to say, and I quote, the kids are under surveillance. And now, and I'm thinking, my God, what is wrong with him? Like, why would he, what would make him say such an insane thing? Like, what's wrong with him? Why is he, where does the hubris, where does that kind of hubris come from? Like, why would he even, I mean, it's pure fantasy, right? There's not a speck of evidence at all that would suggest these things. It's not a speck of evidence that would suggest these things. And he weaves this tale of Bobby and her 3 criminal children. What was that movie, Bill? Mama Jugs and what? Bill. Oh, my husband can't hear me. Bill. Yeah. What was the name of that old movie? I think Angie Dickinson, something, Mama Jugs, or the woman, they were like criminal gang. It was an old mom and her kid, her sons. Lightning Speed and Mother Jugs, something like that. Anyway, it was an old, it was like a really old movie, like maybe from the 50s. And Angie Dickinson played the mother, you know, so she's a middle-aged, over-the-hill mom. Mama Jugs and Speed. Mother Jugs and Speed. 1970 something. And it was like the mom was the criminal, she was like the criminal mastermind, and she would, yeah, Dumb and Dumber, right? I did it again. Hold on. Makes me so mad, y'all. Anyway, it's like this woman and her 2 teenage minor children, and then her young adult son, like they're this criminal mastermind group. Like a criminal mastermind group. Just born out of his imagination, not a speck of evidence at all for anything bad. And so I was thinking, why would she say these things? That's so odd. It's so strange that she would even say this, right? Like, it's curious that he was inventing this fantasy. And then this fateful live. This fateful live where he says, you know, I worry that a tragedy happened, that Sebastian was hiding, and he was, a load of dirt was dumped on him. And so we need ground penetrating radar. We need ground penetrating radar to come and search this area. Does anybody in here see a problem with that? Rosebud, you believe that SF is being sarcastic in this video? Maybe I misunderstood you. I never thought this didn't sound sarcastic on any level. But what happens is he debunks his own scenarios, which covers him from incriminating himself. In this case, he's just a lone investigator. He doesn't know anything. I see what you're saying, Rosebud. Yeah. Yeah, Jules, I went back to read the rest of it. Yeah, I mean, I'm feeling fairly uncomfortable with this. because he's kind of like, remember Barry Morphew? Hey, Tyson Draper, come on, I'll tell you what happened. But he was in Denver, so he didn't know what happened to Suzanne. And I'm getting that same vibe from SF. Hey, everybody, there's been a lot of those silly YouTubers out there talking about this case, but now it's okay. I'm here to tell you about it. Now I'm here to tell you what really happened. And the man with 5 CPS reports with Sebastian named as the victim, he could not have possibly hurt Sebastian. And Katie could not have hurt Sebastian. Nobody could have hurt Sebastian except this little obscure housewife 1 street over who has these 2 teenage boys and 1 young adult boy, and they were behaving in a curious way, and they were implicated in flashlight tag, and we need ground penetrating radar because Sebastian was hiding, fell asleep, and had a load of dirt dumped on him and buried him. I don't know if he really thought his way through this, because what's going to happen to SF Investigates if they go back there and they find Sebastian buried under a load of construction dirt? What's going to happen to USF? Did you think this through all the way, buddy? Because I'm thinking you did not. This is horrifying. One of the reasons that it's horrifying to me is this, and I think SF will appreciate this. I think he's going to appreciate what I'm about to say. You remember the Kylie Rodney case, right, Emery? Everyone was looking for this beautiful young lady. Both she and her car had gone missing. They did have a last known location where her car pinged right beside the lake in the early morning hours. But the sheriff's office, including SF, came forward and said, we've searched this lake. Our law enforcement divers have searched this lake. And Kylie nor her car are in this lake. Y'all remember all that? Remember? They did a press conference and everything. It was a big deal. Adventures with Purpose shows up and they say, we do this. This is what we do. We find people that haven't been found in 20 years. And now, we're going to try to find Kylie if you'll let us help. Yeah. You can help us, but you don't need to worry about this lake. This lake was done by professional divers. But here's some other lakes that you can go to. So they had them kind of running around chasing their tail for a day or two. Finally, they say to themselves, look, we got to go back to the last known location. We know her phone pinged at that point right there at the shore. And ultimately, they did the search with SF Investigates in Kylie Rodney's father and grandfather's ear. Remember that. Yes, even with Kylie Rodney case, he was befriending the parents and then focusing their anger on the YouTube creators who were covering the case. He has an MO. He does the same thing with every case. And so it took about 35 minutes for Adventures with Purpose to actually find Kylie. That quick. Once they went back to the last known ping, and there where the last known ping was, there was her car. And unfortunately, she was in the car in the water. Now, the reason that this is chilling to me, this video we're looking at right here, the reasons it's chilling, if you remember the fire camera, put a 1 in chat. If you remember, I'm fixing to cough again. Yes, the fire video. Is that the case where Steve Fisher told Adventures with Purpose he would make sure they received the reward and then he disappeared? Yes, yes, absolutely. That's the same one. So, I don't know where the mannequin was in the forest fun to ski. I had heard people talk about that, but I don't know. I didn't see that. I don't know what that's about. So the way that it was determined, people were arguing about whether Kylie Rodney drove herself into the lake, whether the car was pushed into the lake. There was a lot of this arguing. And magically, guess who is the one that came up with the footage from the fire tower? Yes, SF Investigates. He magically found this camera shining perfectly, exactly right down on the little boat dock where her car went right in the water. It was like a movie setup, guys. It was like a movie. And you could see the lights on her car just come down the road and proceed to drive straight into the water. And there was no longer any question that Kylie Rodney drove herself into the water and died. That was SF Investigating. And looking at this right here, if you remove those trees that are closest to us, it could be just like the fire camera footage. So we now have SF Investigates, the exact same MO, where he shows up with this camera angle and says, oh, you see these big trucks moving dirt? You see all that? I think we need a ground penetrating radar. I think we better look to see if Sebastian may be buried over there. But he started this a week ago with stories about Bobby and her 3 sons. You're going to be in trouble, SF Investigates, if that boy is found over there buried. You're going to be in it up to your eyeballs, because the Sumner County Sheriff's Office may be corrupt, but there's state police and there's federal police. And what you have said and done on these cameras that people have saved, they have on their external hard drives, and they will be only too happy to turn it into the police. This is the weirdest thing I've seen since I've been covering this whole true crime stuff. It's really uncomfortable for me. I'm really uncomfortable about this. So there you have it. And I can't for the life of me figure out the problem with the timing. SF was picking up evidence for himself. What a cluster thick, in my opinion. Yeah, fun to ski. It is such a mess. It is such a mess. I think it's been there for years. There's also another one in the window of the barn on Long Hollow Pike across from their neighborhood. It's creepy. I mean, it kind of is, right? That drone of Kylie's car was not released until after Adventures with Purpose found her. I mean, you could see the car, couldn't you? You could literally see the car under the water. It was so clear. So Sweet Sativa said that Gray, I'm assuming you're talking about Gray Hughes, found the fire station camera. So SF Investigates claims that he found it. Now, what Gray did, though, is Gray was able, because this is kind of what he does, right? This is like his talent, his skill set. He took the camera footage, which was really hard to really see, and he superimposed a daytime screenshot of the same area so that you could easily discern that where the lights were, where they went under the water, all that. So yeah, that was definitely a case where Gray Hughes was a humongous help. Like he really made a very, very interesting contribution for sure. And like I said, he did that one show where he was kind of white knighting for Christopher Proudfoot, and then he kind of went silent about it. So I think he kind of maybe watched and listened and kind of went, ooh, maybe I was wrong about this guy. Maybe this isn't, what I want to get involved in with. So yeah, it was really hard, Sweet Sativa. The footage that SF had of the fire tower, it was so hard to see. It was dark. You could see the lights on the car, but you just couldn't really make heads it wasn't useful, right? Because you couldn't really see anything. But then Gray Hughes did his magic, and suddenly it was like, daylight, the car driving in the water, and you could clearly see her car and see it going in. So yeah, huge contribution in the Kyler Rodney case. I will put aside all differences despite all that has been said about me online. If he truly wants help, professional to professional, I will assist for Sebastian. You're a sweetheart, Jules. You really are. They've been pretty awful. No, I don't think so, Lexi Lynn. Not in the Kylie Rodney case. It was more of him meddling with the parents of the victim, Kylie's parents. There was a lot of manipulation there. He directed them toward anger at the YouTube community. It was odd. It's really strange how he finds a scapegoat. He uses a scapegoat. Any of these cases that he gets involved in, he comes up with a scapegoat, right? He did it with the whole Riley Strain. Did the same thing, manipulated the parents, found a scapegoat. You know what else he said? And I think this is where I'm going to end this live, because we're 2 hours in and you guys are really kind to stay this long. But I do think this was really, I think it's important for as many people as possible to see that he has laid out this narrative now, and it's chilling. It's a frightening. It's very. I don't believe that anybody would come to the realization that this kid, this 15-year-old, would leave his house with no shoes on, no coat, that he would walk and hide and not let any cameras pick him up. And then when he got there to that wide open field of dirt, that he would, I don't know, he said hide, but where are you going to hide when they're doing dirt work and they're getting ready for construction? It's just flat and open. So he supposedly goes and hides somewhere there where they're dumping dirt, and then he falls asleep, or he's unconscious, or worse. And then the truck backs up, even though it's beeping. That doesn't wake him up. And then when the dirt starts hitting his body, that doesn't wake him up. And then he ultimately just lays there and lets the dirt pour all over him until he's covered up. That's what SF thinks happens. Have you ever heard of Occam's razor? What's the chance that all that was going on? Or is it more likely that a stepfather who had been terribly abusive per CPS, who has a demonstrated severe anger problem, freaked out and acted out on him because he wanted to come back to his house? I'm going to let you kind of work through those calculations. But, I tend to go with Occam's razor. I think it's a sort of like a rule, a physics rule. Me too, Yvette. He was carried off out the back door. Oh, I don't know. I've heard that discussion, Sunshine, but I don't know what people are basing that on, other than is there supposedly like a camera or something that people think they can see that? I don't know. Look, I have an Oculus VR headset. I can't even play my Oculus unless there's a light source. And it doesn't have to be a big light source in the room. It can be just like a little candle burning, and that's all the headset needs to be oriented, right? When the lights are off, when there's no light source at all, you can't see anything at all. So I don't know how I don't know how they think they see anything it just looks black. I don't know. I have screamed Occam's razor since the first Proudfoot interview. Thank you, show poodles. I respect that. 'Tis me. How are you? I go with my first instinct, right, Spirit Seeker? I mean, there are some things that are very difficult to ignore. And one of the things SF investigates, one of the things that I struggle to ignore is I cannot ignore the lies that you have told. And I'm not in fear of prosecution saying that, because these are things that are recorded and stored on my external hard drive. You did, in fact, say that Katie Proudfoot told you that it was a old man between the two cars at the Texas Roadhouse, right? But it's not. It's a woman. And I can't understand either. You decided to not tell the truth. You decided to put out information that was categorically false. Or Katie told you a lie, but you don't seem to care that she lied, which it seems weird to me, because your reputation as a professional private investigator is on the line. Wouldn't you be upset that your client lied to you? Seems weird to me. It seems really uncomfortable that you say that Granny lied, that Granny is pretending to know the Proudfoot. She said in the video she does not know them, but you are perpetrating falsehoods about Bobby and her kids. You also said that you have her children under surveillance. Those are minor kids. You recognize that, right? Why would you have them under surveillance? That is bizarre. So, yeah, there's some serious problems. You were also the one who perpetrated the misinformation on the dogs. You and Christopher Proudfoot lied about the dogs. You and Christopher Proudfoot lied about the dogs. It's hard to explain that away. And then when you start saying things like flashlight tag, when you start saying things like Bobby's son was lying under cover of darkness, lying in wait, I mean, that is such a sinister representation. I mean, why not just say Bobby's son was out by the road waiting for his girlfriend to come pick him up? Why not just say that? Why are you intentionally trying to mislead people to believe that something nefarious was happening? You said, oh, they got on their razor. They were following the cops around to report back to Bobby. They needed to know where all the cops were. Were they trying to keep the cops away from Sebastian's body? What's wrong with you? Why would you say something like that? You're the one with this camera that is literally right beside Bobby's house, right beside her house. The kids could have just stood on their backyard, on their back porch, and watched the dogs work around the pond. It's really curious what you're doing. It's curious. And I think the story that you tell in this particular video, I think the story that you tell about a dump truck accidentally dumping a load of construction dirt on his body You've basically just told us that Sebastian was buried there. What gives you the right to say such a thing? And I will say this, after careful consideration, I have come to the conclusion that a hired private investigator should categorically, absolutely not be a content creator regarding the case that they are currently working on. You have false credibility. You have fake credibility. You get up here and you say, I have 100 hours of video. I have 125 hours of video of this. I saw Riley Strain go over into the water. We have 420 people in here right now. Please listen to this. All of you guys, please. This man, SF Investigates, he literally said on an interview day before yesterday, he literally said, I have the video. I saw Riley Strain go over into the river. He said that. It's not true. It's a lie. Not even the cops have video of Riley going into the water. There was and JLR knows this. JLR Investigates knows this. He was there. He was on the sidewalk. He was sitting on the stairs. He was there at the bridge where there was no camera coverage. There was a little place that one camera loses Riley as he's walking, and then where he would have come up and the next camera would have caught him, he never comes out. Riley never comes out. So the cops lose Riley, the visual evidence. They lose him right there at that little bridge. And JLR sat there. He walked around for a few minutes in that exact location. He sat on the stairs for a little while talking and recording his video. He knows. JLR can absolutely verify that there is no video of Riley going in the water. If there had been video of Riley going in the water, why did they take so many days searching for him? Why? Think about it. It was through the power of deduction. They said there's really no other explanation. He's either got to be in the homeless camp or he's in that river. And that some YouTube or TikTok people were looking along the shoreline and they found was it his driver's license, or maybe it was a credit card that had his name on it? And that's when they knew, okay, he's got to be in the water because here's his identification wet, laying on this rock. That's how he was actually found. And it was a boat captain that the boat was at dock, and I think they were getting ready to move or getting ready to leave, and he leaned over and just happened to catch Riley's body between these two boats. So I'm going to ask you to consider, 420 of you guys, want all of you, because you're a big force in this whole true crime community thing. This SF Investigate, why would he tell a channel that there are 1,000 or more people listening? Why would he want to tell such a lie? Why would he want to say to them, I have the video footage, I watched, I saw Riley go over and into the river? Ask yourself that. If you like true crime, you like mysteries, you've got to be logical. Does this seem rational to you? Does this seem normal to you at all? This is deeply, deeply concerning. So funny how he is saying this now, allegedly. It's Tony who was spokesman for Riley's family. I mean, so do you think Tony and SF Investigates have known each other? Yeah, apparently, Gina. Apparently, he did not report it because they spent how long looking for that poor young man? Riley is from my hometown. Steve, you are a liar. It is so sad. I mean, this is some bad stuff here. Hold on a minute. What is this, Scotty? Let's see. Scotty Hottie says something. Hold on. Scotty Too Hottie says, Mandy, did you watch Justin's live where he found out from the neighbors that Christopher Proudfoot went to get his camper with 2 other people when he has said he went by himself, but numerous times he mentions we? Wow. But we don't know who the 2 people are, right? I mean, who are the sycophants? Who are the obsequious sycophants? Name them. Christopher Proudfoot's got his working group. He's got his people. We know who they are. Patricia, he says the words. He says something like, I have 125 hours of film footage with Riley Strain. I watched him on these films and I saw him. I've seen the footage. He went over and into the water. He describes it exactly that way. He doesn't say he fell in the water. He says he went over and into the water. I mean, it is chilling. He said Katie wasn't one of them, and I think Justin knows who they are. Ah, very good. You definitely should watch replay afterwards. It's great. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. But the big takeaway from today, what my goal, what my hope is number one, who are the sycophants? Who are the people directly involved with SF Investigates and the Proudfeet? Who are they? Not just people who will say, well, I was just making my content and I didn't know what was going on. I'm talking about the ones that are on the inside, they're the inner circle, the ones that say, oh no, Christopher Proudfoot told me that his truck was picked up in the geofencing net. The real inner core that know the secrets, right? Who are they? Number one. And then the second was this construction of a story involving Bobby and her children, setting up this suspicion on this family, this innocent family, and then getting magically a recording right next to Bobby's house. That's Bobby's backyard that you're looking at. And he's claiming that this footage is from the morning that Sebastian went missing, that is Max and his handler on that hill. He sets all of this up. He tells you, he never should have told you that was Bobby's house. He didn't need to say that was Bobby's house. Why did he? And then he says, after implicating Bobby, her 2 teenage minor children, her 1 young adult child, he sets this up. He says, that's Bobby's yard. And then he says, look at all those trucks. I think we need ground penetrating radar because I think Sebastian was covered up with a load of dirt. What did Barry Morphew say? Come over here. Let me tell you what happened. But he was in Denver. So how in the hell did he know what happened? This is a real problem right here. This is a real problem right here. This is really frightening to me. And I wish to God the FBI would go out there and look. And they're going to come for USF. That's who they're going to come for. Man, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. You might want to find out about Charlie Adelson. Those of you that don't know about the case of Charlie Adelson, It took 8 years for charges to be filed against Charlie Adelson for conspiracy to commit murder. In other words, Charlie didn't pull the trigger. Charlie didn't commit the murder, but he paid to have the murder committed for his sister to kill her ex-husband. And he is now serving life in prison without parole. Conspiracy to commit murder. All right. Please make sure that people understand that a narrative has been created, it has been constructed by the Proudfoot private investigator, in which Sebastian is buried by construction dirt behind Bobby's house. Just, I mean, it's going to be scary if it comes out that way. Kathy C., thank you so much for becoming a member. You're a sweetheart. I appreciate you so much. Ginger Girl, you're my friend. Thank you so much for becoming a member. And we will have some stuff going on next weekend that will be members only. All right. Okay, everybody. Thank you for everything that you do to support the channel. If you haven't subscribed, I hope you will, because I don't have a regular upload schedule. I have a real live job that I have to go to every day. So I just do videos when I have a little extra time. And if you're subscribed, then you'll get the notification that I've put up something new. Also, please hit the thumbs up. That helps YouTube push the video out to other people so that other people in the true crime community can see this content. And I would love it if you'd leave a comment under the video. All right. I'll talk to you later. Bye. Oh, I was going to try to do a new, how do I do that? I was going to try to do what's it called, an extra outro. Well, it didn't play. Why didn't it play? So maybe it'll play once I hit. Well, we'll see what happens. You guys are awesome. See you later. Y'all have a good evening. All right. Bye. It didn't play, did it? The video? Shoot. Well, that is frustrating. The corner store smells like mama. Yeah, I thought I was gonna. I gotta work on it, figure it out. I don't know why the outro didn't play. See you later. Bye.